Haitians speak Spanish. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but a lot of them do. You may have recently watched some of the on-the-ground reporting of the chaos going on in Springfield, Ohio right now. President Trump famously dropped this line at the debate.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats.
Yeah. Well, I don't really know if that's true, and I don't really care. But I was intrigued to watch the YouTuber brigade subsequently travel to Springfield and interview actual Haitians. Now, obviously, most Americans don't speak Haitian Creole, or even French. But this one interview from Tyler Oliveira, I hope I'm saying his name right, piqued my interest.
How much money does the government give you per month?
Pero el first step me doy como primera vez te fueron como 500, segunda 300.
Wait, what?
Las 2 años.
No tengo un mensual, pero yo nuevo por ahí.
Okay. ¿De dónde eres?
En Haití.
That's Spanish. Now, I know what you're thinking, and you're wrong. You're probably thinking, well, that makes sense. After all, Haiti's just half of an island, shared with the Dominican Republic, a Spanish-speaking country. But that doesn't really hold up to scrutiny. What about Americans in northern Maine? Are there a ton of them speaking French? What about Venezuelans living close to the Brazilian border? Are a lot of them speaking Portuguese? Or going to France, what about the northern Frenchmen? Are there a bunch of them speaking German? Nah. Believe it or not, those invisible lines that we call borders do actually do something. And sure enough, a quick Google search will reveal that 90 to 95% of Haiti's population doesn't even speak another language besides Haitian Creole. And that remaining 5% is normally French, not Spanish. So what is it? It's not like this one interview was an isolated incident, by the way. Plenty of Haitians speak Spanish. I've heard it with my own ears. Well, if you spent any time on the internet the last couple of years, you've certainly seen videos, news articles, probably some hyperbolic tweets about the various migrant caravans coming to the United States. Who could forget AOC's tearful photo shoot at the border in front of an empty fence? Or what about the outrage over this photo of a Border Patrol agent riding a horse, whipping a Haitian migrant? Or the famous meme, who could forget the famous meme of our Vice President, the border czar, Kamala Harris?
Do not come. Do not come.
This video is my personal favorite. It's a group of golfers in Eagle Pass, Texas, right across the border from Tamaulipas, getting cheered on by all the migrants who are awaiting processing. Now, it's no surprise that a huge amount of those migrants coming to the US are Haitians. But, contrary to what you may perceive, many of these Haitians, they didn't just fly from Haiti to the US border. It's not like they get on a plane and fly right to Juarez. They didn't even just fly to South America and immediately start walking north to the US-Mexico border. The truth is, many of these Haitians have been in Mexico for years. Now, let me explain. Post-COVID, or really pre-COVID as well, but especially post-COVID, Haiti has been a Mad Max apocalypse. We've all heard the stories. The riots and tire burnings in the streets, the assassination of their president in 2021, the total capture of Port-au-Prince, their capital, by gangs. There are even more niche stories, like famous American YouTuber Arab, who got kidnapped by one of these gangs earlier this year. But the reality is that Haitians have been fleeing their homeland for over a decade. The real catalyst being a devastating earthquake in 2010. And they've just been kicked around Latin America ever since. So after that earthquake in the early 2010s, around 150,000 Haitians went to Brazil because work was abundant. You'll probably remember that Rio de Janeiro hosted both the World Cup in 2014 and the Olympics in 2016. This provided fertile ground for Haitians to come in and work because they needed low-skill, low-wage labor to help work on these projects. But after the Olympics ended in 2016, all these jobs disappeared, Brazil's economy started to stagnate, and this was really hard on the Haitians. So this left all the Haitians in Brazil with one of two options. Now, Haitian diasporas are all over South America, so I don't want to speak for all Haitians. But generally, when these jobs dried up in Brazil, the Haitians did one of two things. Option one, they just started walking north to the Darien Gap to get to the US. Option two, a lot of Haitians took advantage of visa-free access to Chile. But in 2017, Chile elected a more right-wing president, Sebastián Piñera. And Piñera subsequently started cracking down on immigration, one of his policies being removing visa-free access for Haitian immigrants, meaning these Haitians had nowhere to go. So what did they do? They started going north too. So now there are two groups of Haitians from Brazil and Chile going up through the Darien Gap, making their way to the US. And on this journey to the US, what do you notice about all these pass-through countries? Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala. Looks like pretty good Spanish practice to me. But these pass-through countries are just that, pass-throughs. They have no problem shooing on unwanted migrants to the next guy because, let's be honest, nobody from Haiti is embarking on a 150-kilometer journey on foot just to arrive in Honduras. They're going for gold, the US of A. But unfortunately for the Haitians, until recently, but that's for another video, the pass-through from Mexico to the US is not quite as easy as going from Costa Rica to Nicaragua. Because we know damn well that these Haitians aren't on the way to Manitoba. They're not on the way to Toronto. They're here to stay in the US. So Mexico found themselves in a bit of a bind, with all the Haitians in particular. You know, unwanted Central American migrants, they can be deported, they can be assimilated pretty easily, their governments are diplomatic buddies, they're all on contiguous land, they all speak the same language, they all have similar culture. Imagine this. Imagine that the United States had a major problem with illegal Canadian immigration. We just had millions of illegal Canadians flooding over the northern border. Can you imagine it? No, you can't, because it wouldn't even be a problem. Joey B would just go knock on Blackface Justin's door, and we'd work something out. Canada would probably accept some of their illegals back. We might get some of them a new type of work visa, some accelerated green card path. It would all work out. And there wouldn't be much pressure on the government from the populace because nobody would care that much because the Canadians would blend in so seamlessly with our society. Even the most ardent Trump supporter would probably be hard-pressed to give a shit about Canadians flooding his town because there wouldn't be too much of a difference. So no big deal. But deporting Haitians from Mexico? Totally different ballgame. They're a tiny island 1,000 miles off the coast of Cancun with a totally dysfunctional government and a completely different culture. So what do these Haitians in Mexico do? They stay in Mexico. And they tend to form their own communities, most of them on the northern border cities, like Tijuana, Ciudad Juarez, Nuevo Laredo. But there are also enormous Haitian communities down south, like in Mexico City, Veracruz, and Tabasco. And just like immigrants in the United States, the Haitians tend to assimilate to varying levels. Some stay cloistered in their own communities, and they never learn the language or appreciate the culture. And that's too bad. Others may go out and learn Spanish out of survival. They need to get good jobs. They need to raise their kids. And, they might send their Haitian kids to Mexican public schools too. Others will fully immerse themselves in the culture. They'll learn the language. They'll learn the culture. And they'll raise their kids to be Mexican. Hell, a lot of them even marry a Mexican. And then they have no reason to keep going on north. They just stay in there and they create their legacy in Mexico with their Haitian Mexican babies. And what do the local Mexicans think of these new immigrants? Well, that's a topic for another video.